Another week, another piece of bull crap scandal from Canada, our favorite or second favorite country, Western country, Canada, after the USA. Canada's the USA lapdog. So what do we have here today? What we have here is a situation of institutional and systemic racism in the province of British Columbia in Canada. So ICBC here stands for Insurance Corporation of British Columbia. So why is an insurance company over here acting like they're CBSA or Canada Border Services Agency? An insurance company here wants to play the role of immigration department. Someone over here on Reddit claims and writes, some staff at ICBC are awfully sensitive, almost as if they're a branch of CBSA, Canada Border Services Agency. So this guy goes on to say, my dad's photos were taken, signatures completed, and what left was the payment to be made. I asked the clerk when we should be expecting his renewed ID in the mail, and at the same time he was getting the credit card machine ready, the clerk immediately asked why we needed to know, and after a minute of explaining that we simply wanted a timeline of when to be on the lookout for it, he canceled the renewal. Oh man, this is just racism, profiling people. His supervisor explained that they had exceptional evidence my dad lived overseas based off of our question. So someone asked, how long would it take for them to get government ID, because you basically need government ID for everything. And they said, oh, this is proof that you live overseas. You live in Hong Kong, and you no longer qualify to be here in BC. You're an outsider. You have somewhere else to be that you could be at. So we're not going to take responsibility for you here in British Columbia. Wasted half a year fighting this. So yeah, this is just racism. And somebody replies, this is the dumbest thing I've heard from ICBC. I was there last month, Richmond, BC, renewing, and asked the same question, 5 to 10 business days. Why did I ask? Because you have both my IDs and I get ID'd everywhere. So this guy here says, he also says and knows that you need ID for everything in Canada, and just by asking how long it's going to take, you get they say, oh, you live in Hong Kong or whatever overseas, we don't take responsibility for you, what you're doing is illegal. Well, last time I checked, Canadian citizens have mobility rights protected under the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms and also the UN. Somebody then replies to the OP, another person says, this also happened to me. I had a work visa to another country on my passport, but that passport had no stamp showing entering that country. They said it doesn't matter because I was planning to move. Took years to resolve. And another person replied to this other person and wrote, happened to me as well in Metrotown, Burnaby, BC. So Metrotown's in Burnaby, BC. I asked, what's the process to exchange a foreign license to get a BC license? And the requirements were, need a letter from my employer and shit tons of documents to prove I actually live here. Like, bruh, I'm born and raised here. What do you want? You're not CBSA, Canada Border Services Agency. And another person then goes on to write, at first I thought you must gone to the ICBC office on McDonald. So he's referring to McDonald Street in Vancouver, BC. The ICBC branch on McDonald Street in Vancouver. Since there is a lady there who is a real piece of work and gets like that with anyone who isn't super white, that's racist, buddy. You said it was a guy though, so I guess it's an ICBC thing perhaps. Yep, that's systematic and institutional racism here Canada. And someone replies to this guy, I worked for ICBC in the past. There is some serious and pervasive racism in some parts of the organization. I heard a lot of long-time staff gripping about how people from particular ethnic groups were always exaggerating injury claims, etc. It was shocking or not shocking, depending on your perspective. We have a Chinese guy over here, born in British Columbia, Canada, has a BC birth certificate as a Canadian citizen. So when he goes to ICBC, the insurance corporation of British Columbia, to renew his BC driver's license, someone creates false information on his driver's license file in order to start a residency investigation on him that could take up to 12 months. So somebody puts on his file that he's been to China, even though it was never mentioned, and going to China isn't a crime. And what does this have to do with anything in terms of China? People in Canada clearly being judged on their race, being judged on their ethnicity, and then they're being discriminated against.